When I saw my husband laughing with her at the dinner table, the kind of laugh that used to belong to me, I realized something had shifted in my own home. It wasn't loud or obvious. It was quiet, soft, like the creak of a door left slightly open to a cold wind. But it was enough to make me shiver. My name is Anita, and for 22 years, I believed I had built a peaceful, steady marriage. Not perfect, just real. We had a modest home on the edge of town, a teenage son in college, and a life stitched together by small, ordinary routines. The hum of the kettle in the morning, my husband Raj reading the newspaper at the dining table, the faint smell of jasmine from the garden drifting through the window. But peace, I've learned, is fragile, especially when family decides to stay, just for a few weeks. It started with a phone call one Sunday afternoon. Raj's younger sister, Priya, had just gone through a rough breakup. She needed somewhere to stay for a while, Raj said, his voice gentle but firm, the kind of tone that left little room for disagreement. Of course, I agreed. Priya had always been a bit of a free spirit, charming, unpredictable, sometimes careless. When I first married into Raj's family, she was the one who called me Bobby with such sweetness that I almost felt like her real sister. But time changes people. Or maybe time only reveals them. Priya arrived 2 days later with 2 large suitcases, an air of melancholy, and a perfume that lingered in every room she entered. At first, I didn't mind her company. She helped with chores, cooked occasionally, even made me laugh during tea. But there was something about the way Raj's face softened around her that stirred a quiet discomfort in me. Maybe it was nothing, I told myself. Families comfort each other. That's what we do. The days slipped into weeks. Priya's few weeks stretched into a month. Then 2. She began to settle in like she'd always belonged, taking over little spaces without asking. The spare room became her room. The living room shelf, where I kept old family photographs, slowly filled with her scented candles and trinkets. Even the kitchen, once my sacred domain, now echoed with her laughter as she cooked, something special for Raj. One night, I came home late from visiting my sister. Raj and Priya were in the living room, watching one of those silly game shows he used to call a waste of time. He used to watch the news with me. But there he was laughing, slapping the sofa arm, while she teased him like a child. When he saw me, he smiled politely. "Oh, you're back." Priya made pakoras. Pakoras? I forced a smile. "You don't even like fried food, Raj." He chuckled. "Well," she insisted. "And they're actually good." Something inside me, something quiet but sharp, cracked just a little. The next morning, I noticed Priya had rearranged my spice rack. Alphabetically. I stared at it for a full minute, trying to decide whether to laugh or scream. "You're welcome," she said, walking in with her phone. "It's easier this way. You always complained you couldn't find things." "I never complained," I said slowly. She smiled, a small, innocent tilt of her head. "Oh, maybe Raj told me that." Raj. Always Raj. I brushed it off. "Small things, Anita," I told myself. "Don't make mountains out of molehills." But small things pile up. They gather quietly, until one day they weigh more than you can bear. A week later, we hosted Raj's colleagues for dinner, something I usually planned meticulously. But this time, Priya volunteered to handle everything. "You work too hard, Bobby," she said sweetly. "Let me take care of it. You just relax." I didn't want to seem petty, so I agreed. That night, as the guests arrived, Priya floated through the living room in a crimson sari, one of my saris. She hadn't asked. She didn't even mention it. And Raj, he didn't seem to notice. Or maybe he chose not to. When one of his colleagues complimented her cooking, Raj smiled proudly. "What can I say? She takes after my mother." That's what he used to say about me. I smiled through the evening, pouring drinks, passing plates, pretending not to notice how naturally Priya took the seat next to him. My seat. Later that night, after everyone left, I found her humming in the kitchen, cleaning up. That went well, she said cheerfully. Everyone loved the food. Yes, I replied, stacking plates. You did a great job. She leaned closer, lowering her voice. You know, Raj told me he hasn't seen you this relaxed in years. Maybe I should host more often. Her words landed softly, but carried a sting. I wanted to say something, anything, but instead I nodded, my throat tightening around words I couldn't form. That night, I lay awake listening to the faint sound of Raj and Priya talking in the living room. Their voices were low, but laughter carried. I couldn't hear what they said, only that it was easy, familiar, unguarded. The way we used to be. I turned to the empty space beside me in bed, the pillow cold and untouched. Something had to change. The next morning, I decided to reclaim small corners of my life. Start with breakfast, the one thing I'd always done for Raj. I woke early, made his favorite upma, and brewed masala tea just the way he liked it. The table was set when he walked in, smiling sleepily. But before he could sit, Priya appeared, wearing his old T-shirt, her hair loose, carrying a plate of parathas. I made breakfast, she said brightly. Raj grinned. Again? You're spoiling me, Priya. I stood there, holding the teapot, feeling invisible in my own kitchen. I already made something, I said quietly. Oh, I didn't know, she said, her tone all sugar. But Raj said he was craving parathas last night, so I thought. It's fine, I interrupted. You go ahead. Raj looked between us, then shrugged and sat down. Both look good, he said. Let's have both. He didn't notice the tremor in my hands as I poured the tea. That day, I drove to the edge of town, parked by the lake, and let myself cry for the first time in months. I wasn't angry, not yet. Just hollow. How does someone take your place without touching your things? Without raising their voice? Without meaning to? I didn't know then that this was only the beginning, that Priya's presence in our home wasn't just about comfort or company. She had her own reasons for staying. And I was about to discover just how deeply she'd embedded herself into the life I thought was mine. It's strange how betrayal doesn't always arrive like a thunderclap. Sometimes it comes softly wrapped in warmth, disguised as help. After that morning, I tried to make peace with the situation. Raj seemed happy, lighter somehow, and I told myself that was what mattered. Marriage, after all, isn't just about love. It's about endurance, patience, sacrifice. That's what my mother used to say, if a man feels at peace at home, the home will last. But what happens when that peace no longer includes you? One Saturday afternoon, I was cleaning the guest room, or as everyone now called it, Priya's room. I was dusting the bookshelf when I found a small, leather-bound notebook tucked behind a stack of novels. It wasn't mine. I opened it without thinking, expecting recipes or doodles. Instead, I found lists. Detailed ones. Groceries Raj likes. House accounts. Upcoming expenses, water, electricity, school. And at the very bottom of one page, ask Raj about transferring bills in my name. Makes things easier if Anita travels. I stared at that line for a long time. If Anita travels? I hadn't mentioned any travel plans. Neither had Raj. When I confronted her that evening, she didn't even flinch. Oh, that, she said casually, flipping her hair back. Raj just said it's hard for you to keep up with payments when you're so busy. I offered to help. Raj said that. Yes, of course. Don't be upset, Bobby. You've done enough for this family. Her tone was kind, too kind, the kind that made you feel like you were being gently replaced rather than attacked. That night, I waited for Raj to come to bed. Did you ask Priya to handle the bills? I asked. He sighed, rubbing his temples. Anita, please don't start. She's just helping out. You know how forgetful you can be sometimes. Forgetful. I stared at him, words caught in my throat. I am not forgetful, Raj. He groaned. Then what's the problem? She's just making life easier for everyone. Easier for everyone. The words tasted bitter. Over the next few weeks, Priya's name started appearing on small things. A delivery order. The Wi-Fi account. Even the new microwave warranty card. She had slowly woven herself into the household fabric, thread by thread, while I was busy holding on to politeness. The shift wasn't just administrative, it was emotional. Raj began to talk to her first about everything, the bills, his office frustrations, even his back pain. One evening, when I offered him a pain balm, he said, "It's okay, Priya already gave me something stronger." I remember standing in the doorway, staring at them. She was sitting cross-legged on the sofa, massaging his shoulders while he scrolled through his phone. The scene looked harmless until you realized what it replaced. That used to be my place beside him. The first real confrontation came one Sunday afternoon. Raj and I had planned to visit our son, Arav, at his university for lunch. I'd been looking forward to it for weeks. I'd even packed his favorite pickles and sweets. But when I came downstairs dressed and ready, I found Raj by the car, laughing with Priya. She was in jeans and sunglasses, carrying the same food basket I had prepared. "Oh, you're dressed up," she said when she saw me. Raj thought it'd be easier if I went. "You've been tired lately." I turned to Raj, my voice trembling. "You replaced me on a visit to our son?" "Anita," he said, his tone defensive. "Don't make this a scene. It's just lunch. Arav will be happy to see her too." I looked at him, really looked at him. The man who used to hold my hand at temple fairs, who once stayed up all night when I had the flu, now couldn't even meet my eyes. As they drove away, the car dust brushed my face. I stood there on the porch, holding the empty pickle jar, feeling like a ghost in my own life. That night, Arav called. "Mom, are you okay?" he asked softly. "I'm fine," I lied. It was weird. Dad said you couldn't come, that you weren't feeling well. But you sounded fine last time we spoke. I swallowed hard. Maybe your father thought I needed rest. There was silence on the other end, then a sigh. "Mom, something's off. Priya kept saying we this, we that. Like she lives there forever. Are you okay with that?" Tears pricked my eyes. "She's family, Beta. Sometimes we do things we don't like, for family." I hung up before my voice could betray me. The house had changed. Even the air felt different, heavier, scented with Priya's perfume, her laughter echoing where silence used to be. I began spending more time outside, at the library, at my sister's house, even just walking aimlessly through markets, anywhere that didn't remind me of the woman slowly replacing me. But distance doesn't erase truth. It only makes it clearer. One evening, while folding laundry, I found one of Raj's shirts in Priya's pile. Not by mistake. I could tell from the neat fold, the way she'd paired it with one of her scarves like a set. That's when I knew. This wasn't just a sister trying to help her brother. This was something else, something deeper, more deliberate. And if I didn't act soon, I would lose not just my marriage, but my dignity. That night, I sat on the balcony, watching the streetlights flicker on. I thought of every moment I'd stayed silent, every time I'd swallowed anger in the name of patience, every smile I'd forced in the name of peace. I had been the quiet wife, the good sister-in-law, the forgiving woman. But goodness had become my own prison. It was time to stop being invisible. I decided to start with the one person who could still see me, Arav. The next morning, I called him. "Can you come home this weekend?" I asked. "Sure, Mom. Is everything okay? I just miss you." He arrived 2 days later. When he walked through the door, Priya greeted him like a hostess. "Arav, you've grown so much. I made your favorite biryani." He smiled politely. Thanks, Chachi. Then he looked at me, his eyes searching mine. He sensed it, the tension, the unease. That evening, over tea, I told him everything. Not all at once, not with bitterness, just truth. He listened quietly, his jaw tightening. When I finished, he said, I noticed it too, Mom. The way she talks to Dad, the way he looks at her sometimes. It's not right. I nodded, unable to speak. Then he leaned forward. Do you want me to talk to him? No, I said firmly. Not yet. Let me handle it. Because for the first time in months, I wasn't afraid anymore. I was angry. And anger, when born of betrayal, can be the clearest form of clarity. That night, sleep didn't come easily. Every creak of the floor, every whisper of the ceiling fan seemed to carry the same question. How did I let this happen? But anger, real, righteous anger, doesn't drown you. It sharpens you. By morning, I had a plan. I began observing them quietly, like a guest in my own home, taking mental notes of every shift, every secret glance. Priya had started using Raj's car for errands, even though she had her own scooter. She'd stopped calling him Bia and had begun saying Raj, just Raj, as if the boundary of family was now optional. At breakfast, she'd scold him lightly about skipping medication, and he'd smile sheepishly, like a schoolboy caught in mischief. Raj, I told you, your cholesterol, remember? Yes, Dr. Priya, he'd say, laughing. And I'd sit across the table, stirring my tea that had long gone cold, pretending not to see what was right in front of me. Arav stayed for a week. Having him home was like breathing fresh air again, but he saw too much. One evening, when Raj came home late and Priya rushed to the door before I could, Arav turned to me. Mom, why are you letting her do this? He whispered. Because shouting won't make me stronger, I said quietly. But truth will. 2 days later, I found the truth I needed. Priya was in the garden, talking on the phone. Her voice was soft, almost affectionate. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but when I heard my name, I froze. Yes, it's almost done, she was saying. Once Raj moves the house papers, it'll all be official. Anita doesn't even check the files anymore. She trusts him completely. There was a pause, then she laughed. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. After that, she can keep her memories, I'll have everything else. My hands went cold. The house papers. Our house. I stepped back before she could see me and went straight to Raj's study. My heart pounded as I opened his desk drawer. The safe was still there, the one he kept locked, the one I hadn't touched in years. But I knew the code. Our anniversary date. When the lock clicked open, it was as if a decade of silence shattered in that tiny sound. Inside were our property documents, but the latest paper wasn't what I expected. It wasn't in my name anymore. It was jointly held by Raj and Priya Sharma. My knees almost gave way. My name, once the anchor of this family, had been erased in ink. That evening when Raj came home, I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I simply placed the file on the table and said, You forgot to mention you married me to your sister too. He froze. Anita, it's not what you think. Oh, I said, my voice calm but trembling underneath. Then tell me what it is. Because according to this, she owns half our home. She was just helping with the paperwork. By signing her name next to yours? He rubbed his forehead. You don't understand, it's complicated. There are tax benefits and she's family. Family? I snapped. Then why didn't you tell your wife? His silence was answer enough. I stepped closer, tears burning my eyes. You think loyalty is measured in silence. That because I don't scream, I don't see. But Raj, I've seen everything. Every look, every whisper, every choice you made when you thought I wasn't watching. He didn't reply. He just turned away. That somehow hurt the most. Later that night, I heard them arguing in the kitchen. Raj's voice was low, Priya's sharp. You told me it wouldn't be a problem, she hissed. I didn't expect her to find out so soon. Well, now she knows. What do we do? Do. Not say, not apologize, do. That's when I realized they had planned this together. The next morning, I made tea for all three of us. My hands didn't shake this time. Raj, I said, I've decided to go stay with my sister for a while. He looked surprised, almost relieved. Maybe that's for the best. Priya smiled faintly. Don't worry, Bobby. I'll take care of things here. Oh, I know you will, I said softly. You've already been taking care of everything, haven't you? Her smile faltered just a little. But I didn't go to my sister's house. Instead, I went to my lawyer. I had kept my own copy of the original deed, the one where my name was still sole owner. The transfer Raj had done with Priya's signature wasn't legally valid without my consent. The lawyer confirmed it with a single glance. When I left his office, the sun was warm on my face, not the warmth of comfort, but of awakening. That evening, when Raj came home, I was waiting. I went to see a lawyer, I said. Turns out, your little property transfer isn't worth the paper it's printed on. He looked startled. Anita. No, I interrupted. You don't get to explain. You made your choice. Now it's my turn. Priya walked in halfway through, her confidence wavering for the first time. Bobby, you misunderstood. I stood up slowly. No, Priya. You misunderstood. You thought my silence was weakness. It was grace. In the following days, I didn't shout or throw anyone out. I simply moved on. I changed the locks, transferred all accounts back into my name. And when Arav returned for the holidays, I told him everything. He hugged me tightly. You did the right thing, Mom. Raj tried to apologize weeks later, but apologies are empty when trust is gone. Priya left quietly after that, no scene, no tears. Just one final look, like she couldn't believe the woman she tried to erase had survived. But I didn't just survive. I reclaimed myself. Now, when I sit on that same balcony, sipping tea as the sun sets, I feel peace, not the fragile kind that depends on someone else's loyalty, but the kind you build with your own hands. People think betrayal destroys you. But sometimes, it's the fire that burns away everything false, leaving only truth behind. And truth is a beautiful thing to start over with. Broken Heart title suggestion. My husband and his sister tried to erase me, but I made them regret it. Performing arts themes: betrayal, empowerment, self-worth, silent strength. Sparkle's tone: emotional, cinematic, with a strong final redemption arc. You know, peace doesn't arrive suddenly. It comes quietly in small moments when you least expect it. For me, it began one morning, weeks after Priya left. The house felt strangely lighter. No perfume lingering in the hallway. No extra toothbrush by the sink. Just silence, the kind that used to make me lonely, but now it felt like freedom. I made my tea and looked out the window. The garden, which she once called untidy, was blooming again. The marigolds I'd planted months ago were finally opening, bright and defiant. That's how healing feels, not dramatic, not loud, but steady. Like flowers growing back in soil someone tried to trample. Raj and I didn't talk much after that. He moved into the guest room, then started staying out late, saying he was working overtime. I didn't ask where. I didn't care anymore. One evening, he came home looking tired, maybe guilty, maybe just older. He stood by the doorway and said quietly, Anita, I've made a mess of everything. I didn't reply. I just kept folding laundry. I thought she cared, he continued. I thought, maybe I was being appreciated again. The sound of the word appreciated made me pause. That's what it was about all along, not love, not even desire. Just ego. He wanted to be the man someone looked up to. I had stopped doing that when I started looking after him instead. I never wanted to hurt you, he said. I looked at him, really looked, and for the first time, I didn't see my husband. I saw a man who'd lost himself chasing the illusion of importance. You didn't just hurt me, Raj, I said softly. You disrespected what we built together. That's worse. He nodded, eyes glistening. I don't expect forgiveness. I know, I said. But you can still start being honest. That's something. He left quietly after that, no suitcase, no announcement. Just gone. And for the first time in years, I didn't run after him. The weeks that followed were peaceful. I started cooking for myself again, just enough for one. I joined a community center nearby, teaching women basic accounting so they could run small home businesses. Every Friday, Arav called. How's my warrior mom doing? He'd say teasingly. And I'd laugh, genuinely laugh, because I hadn't heard that sound in my own voice for a long time. One evening, while sorting through old photo albums, I found a picture of Raj and me from our first Diwali together. We were smiling, not because life was perfect, but because back then, we believed we were on the same side. I touched the edge of the photo and whispered, "Thank you for the memories. But they're not my anchor anymore." Then I closed the album and put it away. Closure doesn't mean you stop remembering. It just means the memories stop hurting. Months passed. The neighborhood started to notice the change in me. People who once pitied my quietness began stopping by for advice. You're stronger than most of us, Anita, one neighbor said. I smiled and replied, strength isn't what you show others. It's what you discover when no one's left to hold you. That became my quiet philosophy. Then, one afternoon, as I was returning from the market, I saw Priya standing by the gate. Her face was pale, thinner. The spark of arrogance that once gleamed in her eyes was gone. She looked lost. Bobby, she began, her voice trembling. Can I talk to you? I hesitated. The old me would have shut the gate. But something inside urged me to listen, not for her, but for myself. She told me Raj had been helping her with money after he left, but now he'd stopped. She'd quit her job, moved out of the rented flat she'd been staying in. I made a mistake, she said, tears spilling. I thought I was smarter than you, that I could build something better. But I lost everything. I looked at her, not with anger, but with an odd sense of clarity. She wasn't my rival anymore. She was just another broken woman who had mistaken manipulation for power. Priya, I said gently, when you destroy someone's trust to build your comfort, that comfort never lasts. It collapses the moment you realize you were standing on someone else's strength. She sobbed quietly. Can you ever forgive me? I took a deep breath. Forgiveness doesn't mean I'll forget what you did. It means I won't let it poison me anymore. I forgive you, but we'll never be what we were. She nodded slowly. That's fair. And then she left. Just like that. No drama, no begging. Only silence again, but this time, it was peaceful. Weeks later, Raj wrote me a letter. He said he was moving to another city for work, that he wanted me to keep the house. It's yours, he wrote. It always was. I'm sorry it took losing you to realize what I had. I folded the letter and tucked it inside my diary, not out of longing, but as a reminder of how far I'd come. That night, I lit a single diya on the balcony. The same balcony where I'd once watched my life fall apart. The same place where I'd chosen to rebuild it. The flame flickered softly against the wind, stubborn but steady. That's me now, I thought. Not untouched by storms, just unbreakable because of them. If you ask me what I learned from it all, I'd say this. People can take your time, your love, your comfort, but they can never take your dignity unless you hand it to them. And sometimes, losing what you thought was everything is the only way to find yourself again. I don't know where Raj or Priya are now. I don't wish them harm. In a strange way, I wish them peace, the kind that comes when you stop running from your own reflection. As for me, I've started writing again. Small stories like this one. Stories about women who survive quietly, who rise without applause, who rebuild without revenge. Because strength isn't in fighting louder. It's in walking away softer and still standing tall. When people visit me now, they often ask, "Aren't you lonely in that big house?" I smile. "No," I say. "I finally have room for myself." Dove, some people enter your home like guests and leave as lessons. You know, when I look back now, it almost feels like someone else's story, a movie I watched long ago, where I remember every scene but no longer feel the pain. Sometimes, I still catch myself setting 2 cups on the table out of habit. Then I laugh, pour one back, and sip my tea in peace. That quiet moment, that's victory. Not revenge, not payback, just peace. Because the truth is, betrayal changes you. It hardens some parts of you and softens others. It teaches you how to listen to your instincts and to walk away without waiting for permission. For the longest time, I thought love meant endurance. That to be a good wife, you had to keep forgiving, keep understanding, keep adjusting. But I've learned something else. Love without respect is just slow self-erasure. You disappear a little every day until one morning, you wake up, look in the mirror, and see a stranger staring back. That's what Priya's arrival did to me. It forced me to meet the stranger I had become. And once I met her, I couldn't go back. Now, I take care of that woman. I feed her good food, I buy her flowers, I write her stories. She deserves them. And maybe that's the biggest redemption, learning to treat yourself with the same patience you once wasted on those who hurt you. A few months ago, I got a letter from Arif. Inside it was a photo, him and his fiancée, smiling, standing under a tree. "She's kind, Mom," he wrote. "She reminds me of you before everything. I want you to come meet her." When I saw that picture, I cried. Not because of sadness, but because I realized something. I hadn't destroyed my son's faith in love, even after all that happened. Maybe he saw my pain. Maybe he saw how I handled it. And maybe, just maybe, he learned that strength and grace can live in the same woman. That was my healing. Not the silence after chaos, but the continuation of goodness despite it. Life feels simpler now. My mornings are quiet, my nights restful. I spend time tending my garden, writing, laughing with neighbors. The world hasn't changed, people still betray, hearts still break, but I've changed in how I meet it. Now, when someone says, "I don't know how you survived all that," I tell them, we all survive. But how we do it, that's what defines us. Because survival isn't just breathing after the storm. It's rebuilding your home, planting new flowers, and trusting the sun will rise again. So if you're listening to my story tonight, maybe with tears in your eyes or anger in your heart, I want to tell you something. You can start over. You can lose everything you thought you needed and still find peace waiting in the quiet corners of your life. Don't let betrayal turn you bitter. Let it make you wise. Don't let loss shrink you. Let it make you spacious enough to hold new beginnings. And don't chase closure from those who wronged you. Find it in the mirror, in your own eyes, in the woman who refused to stay broken. When I light my dia every evening, I whisper a small prayer. Thank you, God, for taking away what was hurting me, even when I begged you to let it stay. That, I've learned, is the most painful kind of mercy. Would you have done what I did? Would you have let her stay? Or would you have sent her away sooner? Tell me in the comments. I'll be reading, like always. And remember, some people enter your home like guests and leave as lessons. But the story after that? That's yours to write. Candle, thank you for listening to my story. If it touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, because somewhere another woman needs to hear that it's okay to begin again.